Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. We've got to expose the leftist hypocrisy today, folks. Most of the time I'll make oral arguments. I can tell you a million times that these Democrats are complete hypocrites, especially on the issue of illegal immigration, the southern border in general, but why tell you when I can show you? I have a little compilation for you guys. Today's topic, the difference between Democrat rhetoric and of course media rhetoric, relating to the southern border during the Trump administration and of course during the Biden administration. We're doing a real flashback today. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so the clip's a little bit long, so let's get straight into it. Hypocrisy on display.
So guys, we're going to go to the border to do the book club.
We have a team here to bring a light as to what's happening.
Tens of thousands of people are expected to protest in all 50 states in coordinated protests. They formed a human chain in the middle of the road. They spread out a pile of baby onesies. Oh, hold on. I think I'm gonna have to hand this off. Yeah.
I cannot unfeel what I experienced. I refuse to.
Mr. Speaker, we do have a crisis at our border. It is one of morality.
No child ever has to suffer.
We need to save these kids. Look at her. She really cares.
We're being called these names under an American flag.
Got up on this ladder and immediately started crying. This is a very overwhelming thing to see.
So I walked down the road, I climbed a ladder, and I looked over the fence.
Let's cut to the chase. This is about racism. This is pure and simple racism. That's all this is. He's hoping that the people who support him will be ginned up and running to the polls to make sure that brown people don't come into America. Those people who are supporting what he's doing here are racist. Period.
Who cares about the Trump voters? If you still support this president after his racism, after putting kids in cages, after everything he's done, you're not going to change. True. You're foregone. I don't care about you.
Now, what's happening at the border is racist.
Securing the border, that was a dog whistle to certain constituents in the Republican base that did not want brown people crossing the border, did not want the browning of the United States.
Black immigrants from the Caribbean, from the continent of Africa are equally afraid.
Republicans who want to get reelected and they're afraid of their primaries, and they recognize that many of their constituents do not see these children who are being sexually assaulted and worse at the border. And they don't see them as humans.
Flat out disgusting, inhumane, and just depraved.
A moral vandalism on the ideals of our country.
Donald Trump has a dark heart when it comes to immigrants.
Odious to basically everyone's moral intuitions.
What I saw has haunted me.
There's no way that you can defend this. Mortifying.
During the Trump administration, and especially for a little while there, it was non-stop southern border coverage day in and day out. And mostly the narrative that the media was pushing was human suffering. And of course, they were attempting to pin the whole thing on Donald Trump. It was all Donald Trump's fault. Everything happening at the southern border was Trump's fault. But now that we're seeing all the same problems essentially, yet much worse under Joe Biden's non-leadership, all of a sudden the media completely ignores the southern border topic in general. And you know what? Let's actually tune into how things are going.
Biden's border crisis setting a sad and scary all-time record. A stunning 276,000 migrant encounters in the month of December alone. The most ever for a single month, and we still have a few days to count.
Well, it seems as though the border crisis continues under the Biden administration. They've been doing media tours over the last 3 years, pushing claims that Joe Biden is solving the problem, that Joe Biden is taking action at the southern border. But last month's numbers were the highest on record in the country's history. And the media, of course, does not care. They are simply just allowing the Biden administration to get away with pushing the lie that the southern border is secure.
It is my testimony that the border is secure.
The president have worked very hard to implement a strategy when it comes to the border that is humane, safe, and has orderly enforcement.
Things are going at the border, sir.
Much better than you all expected.
We have a secure border.
In fact, Karine Jean-Pierre continues to promote this nonsense. Here she is claiming that the president is taking the southern border very seriously.
And so right now there's, as you all have reported, there's this hopefully a bipartisan agreement that we will get to deal with border security because it's so important. When Congress comes back, we hope Congress takes action on that. But the president is taking this very, very seriously.
And here she is, literally a couple days later, unable to articulate a single policy that the Biden administration would support to secure the southern border.
I understand you don't want to negotiate from the podium, but can you tell the American people if there's any immigration policy that this White House is willing to talk about and is working on with Republicans?
So I want to be really careful as negotiations happen. We don't want to do this in the public, right? It does not help the process. And so we want to make sure that those negotiations are happening. Obviously, we're part of those negotiations with the senators. We think it's going in the right direction. We want to make sure that we get to a bipartisan agreement. It's incredibly important. The president understands. He understands that we have to fix this immigration system.
Why enact a policy if, from their perspective, there is no crisis? Karine Jean-Pierre claimed that what's happening at the southern border is not unusual.
And what we're seeing here at the border, the migration flow, increased migration flow, certainly it ebbs and flows. And we're at a time of the year where we're seeing more at the border. And it's not unusual. This is an immigration system that has been broken for decades, and the president has taken this very seriously to try to do more.
I really don't know who they're trying to convince. They're looking like the biggest liars on the planet right now. Karine Jean-Pierre has the audacity to claim that the southern border numbers, the current surge that we're seeing, is simply seasonal and not unusual at all. Well, let's take a look at data, starting from the literal moment Joe Biden got inaugurated into office. Look at this. This is American births versus illegal migrants. Since August, there are officially more illegal migrants arriving each month than there are children being born by American mothers. I mean, let that sink in. You know, Republicans have labeled this an invasion, and of course Democrats are outraged, claiming it's a bigoted right-wing talking point. But is it really? Look at the data on the screen, folks. You know, an invasion doesn't have to be a violent invasion. What is happening at the southern border is by definition an invasion. It's an invasion of the southern border. In fact, it's hard to even call it a southern border. It's hardly a border at all. Alex Jones earlier on Twitter today dubbed it a UN invasion zone, and honestly I think that's a much more accurate description. But just to finish off this video, I want to continue to emphasize and highlight just how deceptive and dishonest and manipulative these Democrats are. From that earlier montage that I played you guys, we saw the squad members after their visit to the southern border delivering their emotional testimony, crocodile tears and all.
Mr. Speaker, we do have a crisis at our border. It is one of morality.
No child ever has to suffer for being called these names under an American flag.
During the Trump years, when illegal border crossings were at an all-time low, apparently this was an appropriate reaction. But now that we're seeing 3 million illegal border crossings, an untold amount of human suffering, they all go silent. And that right there tells you all that you need to know about these people. In fact, I think the flashback that I played for you really puts it all into clear visual perspective. These slimy Democrat politicians are simply the worst of the worst. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.